Thanks for tuning into yet another episode of The Exceptionals. Now, as we've said all through this series, that India is a growth story which is spoken about in numbers, but as we've also told you, that there are truly exceptional and visionary entrepreneurs and leaders behind those numbers. She or he has woven an intricate web of consistency which has led to the business and the entrepreneur's own fortunes really standing out as exceptional. And on the episode today, we are talking to one more exceptional leader. Our guest today is Dr. B.S. Ajaikumar, founder and chairman of Healthcare Global Enterprises, or HCG as it is very well known. And I'll talk a lot more about him, but since he is here with me, let me get started by welcoming him on the show. Dr. Ajaikumar, thank you so much for being with us on the show.
Thank you for having me here.
Now, before I kind of tell the viewers a lot more about you, though you don't need too much in terms of introductions, but I've seen and observed that you have a lot of people address you with many different salutations. Doctorpreneur, Maverick, and multiple other things. What is the salutation that is the closest to you?
See, me being a doctor, oncologist is the right thing. I'm a dedicated oncologist. But why I became an entrepreneur is because I saw a few decades ago, particularly coming back from US, that the oncology care was a different level.
In the US?
Compared to US. We were at a different level using cobalt therapy, primitive therapies, and saying cancer is really not curable, using the terms palliative, incurable, and even in public when somebody has issues in the social issues, we used to say it's a cancer of the society. All of this made me think, look, with the knowledge I have, having trained at MD Anderson, which is the biggest cancer center in the world, it is time to change that. In order to do that, I said it can be done only being an entrepreneur, private enterprise, being a risk taker. So that is when I donned the hat of being an entrepreneur. So that is why people say doctor and entrepreneur, doctorpreneur. But that word I think suits me in terms of what I have done.
Okay, but you would yourself identify by being called as an oncologist because that is what you truly specialize in or want to
I am deep into oncology. My passion is to understand why some cancers respond, why cancer comes, why do they respond, why doesn't it respond, what is this enigma of cancer. That is why I took up oncology. In fact, I like to be at one time I wanted to be a cardiologist when I went to US. But when I saw how people in oncology were treated, patients, we associated with pain, hospice care, terminal care. I am a challenger. I like to challenge things. I don't accept just answers like say, no, it's not doable, I say, why not? I'm a very why person. Okay. So when that came to me when I was in University of Virginia, I said, I have to understand this disease better. Then I told my professor, can I go to the biggest center in the world? He said, who knows, they may take you. That is how I got into MD Anderson. And it was a great journey where I started questioning why. And that really stayed with me. When I came back to India, I started looking at why. But the platform was not there in India. Okay. Because we were really doing cobalt therapy. Treatment were actually sometimes worse than the disease. And people feared the disease and even the treatment, chemotherapy, the side effects, who wants to go through. There were alternate therapies. So all of this made me say, I have to challenge this. I have to take it up and not ready for research. So that is when I said, let me build a platform. So we were the trendsetters, HCG. We brought in linear accelerators to tier 2, tier 3 cities. I remember once an investor telling me, doctor, this doesn't give the proper IRR. Why not a cobalt? I said, that is not the proper treatment to the patient. How can I bring something to a patient which may give you an IRR, but that is not the right thing? Because I always say, the cancer doesn't know rich from poor. It only knows one. How do you challenge me? I am going to challenge you. Are you going to challenge me? It is a relentless pursuit. It pursues you and you have to pursue it. And today we are there on the verge of making breakthroughs. So we are, and we are maybe still scratching the surface. But as you go deeper, like in my own endeavor here, going into research, I find it so fascinating. Today, we no longer do randomized trials. We used to say, okay, 1,000 people I treat, 500 respond, 500 doesn't. We still give all 1,000 people the same treatment. So 500 are getting unnecessary treatment, and that treatment may be actually causing harm because of the issue on that normal cells mutations. So today we are very highly precise. Like for example, if Ajaikumar gets cancer, it will be Ajaikumar specific treatment. So precise we have become, and that is a game changer because we are able to identify through genomics, now we have proteomics, spatial. All these terminologies are called omics. Omics in the treatment. So this omics has become a big word in medical field to see how to not only treat but to identify early. Can we identify cancer early? Can we identify recurrence early? We call it MRD. When do the resistance come? Can we treat differently before the resistance comes to the treatment? And if somebody is going to get recurrence, can we know early through a blood test? So we can do all that. Liquid biopsy it is called. Through that we may be able to identify. So it has opened up a whole new era. But unfortunately sometimes people who should not be in it are also getting into it. So that confuses the matter a little bit. But that is a discussion maybe for some other day. But it is there. Doctors who are really deep into research are doing a fabulous job. And India has never been in the top of research all these years. But now we can leapfrog into that area. That is what we are hoping we can.
In some sense, you are a business leader who has not worked relentlessly in the pursuit of profits. Would that be a fair thing? Or is it just that the field you are in prompts you to do that?
I will give you my honest answer. When I came back to India, started this, let me do the right thing for the cancer patients. I didn't know what is EBITDA means, what are margins mean, what are the PAT, all these terms I didn't know.
But were you rich enough then to not bother about it?
I come from a middle class family.
Okay.
And in fact, I have written in my book called Excellence Has No Border, what all we went through. But that was a great experience. I always say, coming from middle class family, all we got was education. My dad was a dean of law school. He made sure we got good education. But to me, it was a challenge. See, I always felt you don't have to be wealthy to really start as long as you don't have fear. See, the problem is for an entrepreneur to take on, you should be prepared to lose your shirt. And you should make sure your family understands that. I told my wife before moving to India in Boston, I can become a coolie, you have to support me. So that is a risk I took. Because without risk, you can't be a true entrepreneur. People disagree with me, but an entrepreneur through family heritage is not true entrepreneur. If you have amassed wealth and you want to do something, you're not taking risk. You have this buffer, the wealth buffer is there. Yeah. So, but a true entrepreneur is somebody who starts a new idea, new thing. Because I remember, Neeraj, the Tata Memorial director, she is no longer alive, Dinsha, telling me, Ajay, you will fail. What are you talking about? Putting up multiple centers? Nobody in the world has ever done as an individual. I said, Dr. Dinsha, if I fail, I learn from it. But let me go and do it. So I like the challenges. I did it with partnership models and all, succeeded. And thanks to the private equity, honestly, if I can say one thing, without private equity, HCG wouldn't have existed.
I was about to ask you that. In some fashion, your steadfast belief in that, did it help set the culture and attract the right kind of employees to your business who would have stuck with you for the long term? And that is such a big kicker in a business.
Absolutely, because whenever I meet investors, first thing they ask is, what about your doctors? Do you have enough doctors? Believe me, Neeraj, I have doctors waiting to join HCG. I don't have lack, because there are different types of doctors. One doctor may be all about doing the right thing, but 8 to 5 job. I go to a fixed amount, I work in a government hospital, I come home, I'm happy. Then there are doctors who run around multiple hospitals, want to make as much of money as possible. Then there are groups who are in big hospitals, but their goal is the hospitals dictate how much of earning you have to do, how many scans you have to do. So they compromise. But what I have is zero compromise. Do the right thing for the patient. Measure the outcome. Make sure we know the outcome of each doctor, how good they are, not. And if there is a mortality, do we know what is the mortality? For example, in HCG, we published it, used to be 3.4% for 5,000 discharges in 2017. Once we got on, I was primarily involved. Today, 14,000 discharges, 0.7% mortality. It's not easy to achieve. That is outcomes, everything. So, pursuit of excellence, there are doctors who believe in it. Still they make good money, but they want to make sure they are embedded in an organization which believes in this kind of pursuit. And that is why I'm lucky. Even the staff, not only doctors, nursing, paramedical staff, they believe. And my goal is very simple. If you don't believe, please leave the organization. Very important. We don't want half-baked people.
But I don't think it is luck, Dr. Kumar. I mean, I just think it's maybe the employee's belief in the vision of the person who is espousing this principle and living by it. And I think that's what people probably relate to.
Maybe part of it. It is always leadership matters.
Yes, of course.
Without that, but they look at you as the
By the way, I have a public, how do I say, I have a question which relates to everybody's, important for everybody, right? You mentioned this in your previous answer, sir. So many people are scared. Sorry, this is not about your leadership, but I'm just trying to understand, or maybe it is in part. So many people are scared of going to X particular kind of hospitals because the folklore about that place might be that doctors out there have annual targets and the patients will be the guinea pigs. How do we get around this mess?
See,
as a country?
As a country, we need to understand we cannot be a low-cost country. See, there is a cost to low cost. The way it is very fashionable today in India to talk about for the poor man. Once I asked a minister, you talk about poor man, why don't you say, how am I going to make him a rich man? They don't talk about prosperity. Similarly, in healthcare, we don't talk about are you doing the right treatment, is the right outcome. We talk about what is the cost. You meet media, you meet journalists, you bring in an equipment worth $6 million. First thing they ask is, what is the cost to the patient? I'm happy you brought such technology. You have invented or you have come, because we have become a low-cost country. We are a bargaining people. We have NRIs who come and say, give me a discount. So all I can say is, Harvard has published reports on us in terms of value-based medicine. When you take a particular cost and get the same outcome compared to United States of Europe, where the cost is 8 times, 10 times more, getting the same outcome, you're doing very good. But it so happens India is considered a lower socioeconomic, per capita income is low. But India itself has multiple countries within it.
Exactly.
We have 300 million who can afford, which is equal to United States. Yeah. But we say, are we going to serve? Are the government going to serve the day? What is the role of government? And can we bring in universal health care? All of this has to be discussed. But my job as a doctor is to do right thing for the patient. Now, in answer to your question, yes, there is something about doing tests which possibly not needed. Are we doing certain things to meet the requirement of these private hospitals, corporate hospitals? There is always a buzz about it. But the best way to overcome is measure the outcome. Are we doing the right? And what is the cost compared to the rest of the world? If I bring in a certain technology, How are we different? And again, the issue is the finances play an important role. Because when you get a bill of 10 lakhs, 20 lakhs, how many people in middle class are able to keep that kind of money? Very difficult. They go through this trap, the debt trap. They borrow. And there are horrible stories written about people sold their properties and all that. But that is the job of whose job it is. One has to see. Because if you are doing the right treatment and getting the good outcome for high technology, that should be separated out from this expense doing it. So what role does that is why we have proposed universal health care. I have written, but no little response from all these people because they are not interested. Like I carry a Medicare card, even though I've given up my US green card and all. I can go to any hospital in US, get little inpatient, get free care because I paid into it. Sure. We need to develop that system in India. So rich or poor get the same treatment with no bars. That is where we should head. Brazil has done it. Why can't we do?
Okay, interesting. But okay, so that you believe is the way out. Okay, I hear you, sir. Okay, getting back to the conversation and the topic that I wanted to get from you. So let me take the clock back, let's say 20-21 years. HCG, I believe, founded in 2005?
2004, 5, yeah.
2000, okay, between 2003 2005. Describe that moment for an entrepreneur to whom the dean of one of the most amazing cancer hospitals in the country said it's not possible. You made it possible. Describe that moment for you as a doctor and for you as an entrepreneur.
See, for me, it is when I traveled through India, I took off 6 months and traveled with my wife. I saw a child in Madhya Pradesh waiting for 12 hours to get a cobalt treatment, broken cobalt treatment. I asked the mother, 12 hours of waiting, every day I come, sarcoma of the stomach. And when I saw scenes like this, a lady with cervix cancer, bleeding, only giving cobalt and having a lot of side effects, I said, we need to change. We can't accept this. Whatever the challenge is, we have to do. Then somebody said, just do it in Bangalore, you are from Bangalore. I said, no, it is a national issue. So I will use with my advisors and all, I said, I'll use a hub and spoke model. How do we use the hub and spoke model? I'll go to people who are practicing, who are good doctors. Can I make them partners? That is how I created in Nasik, in Vijayawada, in Ahmedabad. This model worked very well, where there are minority partners. And I also thought whether I should do non-profit, for-profit. And one thing, Neeraj, is my DNA doesn't allow me to go and ask somebody, I'm doing this great job, please give me money. I don't do that. Let me do the right royal way. And that is how we created the private enterprise, HCG. And people were always, of course, there are always people who can critique it. I welcome criticism. In a private, cancer. That is why I was so happy to see the Harvard Business School report, which was fabulous. 5 years in a row, they did a study on us saying, what a phenomenal thing. When I went to Harvard Business School, they compared us to Dana-Farber, another oncology group in US. 180 students, nearly 120 voted for HCG. Nice. This is the best model. Okay. So I was very proud, and I was able to bring in linear accelerators. High-end, at that time very expensive, everything, but into remote parts like Nasik, Vijayawada, Ranchi, everywhere across India.
How did you do this? Because you are talking about getting the best-in-class equipment, but at the same time, doing the treatment at, of course, a fraction of a cost as to what is happening globally, but also trying to do it low cost. So how did you achieve both of these as you gravitated and navigated your business through what arguably would have been a challenging time?
Yeah, because the private equities, banks always do their models. I have my own model. Okay. It is called simplicity in complexity. Okay. I take complex situation and simplify. I have a equipment, and now when is it going to be viable? How many patients I need? And for that to be viable, it will take 3 years. So can I work out with a manufacturer? 3 years, there is no payment. So for 3 years, I build. So there is no sword hanging over. This is the model we created. We worked with Siemens and others. And that worked out perfectly well for me, and particularly with private equity coming in. And they were great help, honestly. And they bought into this idea. Some of them, like IDF private equity, there was one Luis Miranda, they didn't know anything about healthcare. They were into road building. They said, it's okay, here is your 10 million, let us see how we will do. And all of them got good returns. 7 Ps have got good returns, no complaints.
How do you achieve that?
That is primarily being, if I can say, when Mr. Premji invested, I didn't go to him. Invested, he said, I want to invest in transparency ethics. I told him one thing, I value your money more than mine. I will make sure that is well spent and your returns come. And he got his returns. It is through diligence, transparency, making sure efficiency in the system. How do you bring about this kind of a change so that it is a well-functioning, good technology, at the same time rich or poor are treated equally once they come in through the doors of HCG, and we have achieved that. We have always been positive EBITDA, we have been good. Of course, people say the ROCE, they always bring up these issues. You can, but we believe we have done very good in terms. We see 175,000 new cancer patients a year, which is probably largest in the world, that number of cancer patients. And that is a proud moment for us. And our doctors, 400 oncologists.
Yeah, but also that during this journey, as you navigated through what has also been a mutating disease in many ways, right? You expanded from whatever number you would have started off with 1, which is UNO, to 21, if I'm not wrong.
25 cancer centers.
25 cancer centers, and also a small acquisition, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah.
So did this journey happen as a planned journey? Did you have the vision back in 2005 that you wanted to reach a particular size, or did it just happen on the way?
No, I didn't have. I just wanted to make sure it is accessible, affordable for people across India. Mainly I was concerned about eastern part of India, certain parts of India, but wherever I found a right partner, that is where I went. For example, in North India, I couldn't find the right partner. I couldn't do it in Uttar Pradesh at that time. But wherever I found this partner is what I can do, go with them. Like in Nagpur, I found a great partner, Ahmedabad, like that. Wherever people are in sync with your thinking, oncologists, and we worked. For example, you take Cuttack, outstanding example. Dr. Panda was senior, very ethical, very senior surgeon. He wanted somebody to help him, make sure beyond him the center will run. So we went, partnered with him. It has been a great 15-year journey now. So those are the examples how we have been able to do. And in there, what happens here is, if you look at an investor, because they may be 25% partner, 49%, investor will say, why should they take the money? Why not we take over them? This is the approach. But I firmly believe an entrepreneur, we should never squeeze them. That is a wrong thing. Of course, I got squeezed during the COVID time because I had no choice. Our stock was going down. People were like, what is happening to HCG? COVID, cancer patients not coming. Board was getting worried. That is when I said, okay, we have to get an investor. CVC came. But all I wanted was about 200 crores. But CVC saw the opportunity, said, no, nothing less than 100 million. 3-4 investors, suitors were all nothing less than 100 million. So I had to compromise, I got diluted. But in the interest of the institution, you have to do. See, you cannot be self-centered at that point. You have to think of the institution you built. So that is how I got diluted, which was fine.
In many ways, in 2 instances that you've just told me, sir, that one, that you told your early investors that, or Mr. Premji, that your money is more important than mine. And then you're talking about the institution being more important than your own interest. Is that one advice that you would give to entrepreneurs who are starting to build out the business? That there could be long-term success in this approach, even if short-term you may feel that you're giving up a lot more than you should?
This comes to my why question. See, entrepreneur has to decide why he's taking up that field. I took it to make a difference in cancer.
Most people do it for wealth creation, sir.
Wealth creation. Then it's a different story. You are a serial entrepreneur. You are not a social entrepreneur. If you do it for wealth creation, of course you have to think of preserving your majority holds, your thing. All of that becomes important, how much you want to grow, will you get. But I know entrepreneurs who are done for wealth also, who because of the pressure, they have diluted themselves to being 5%, 8%. And they're working donkey's hours. I know this guy who is in the data business in Delhi. His working hours are unbelievable, but he's only 8%, 9%. I told him, why are you like this? What is the matter? Who are you working for? For yourself, for others? So this is something has to be changed. We have to give, that is what our Inviga is doing, to give enough ESOPs or stock options through the entrepreneurs who is driving it so that they don't get diluted.
Sorry, what is it that you said? Your Inviga?
I have started a fund called Inviga,
Okay.
which is what actually Nuvama is helping me raise funds.
Okay.
Apart from where it is a AIF2 fund, 700 crore fund, where we are it's a thematic healthcare fund. And primarily non-oncology at this point, and primarily it is going into tier 2, tier 3 cities. I find that is where a lot of doctors, entrepreneurs who have started hospitals, clinics are stuck because either they borrow without understanding what. I ran this through a hospital in Hubli, which we turned around, multi-speciality. I learned through that, hey, if we can only help to bridge the gap and make sure the quality is good, outcome is good. Suppose you do cardiac surgery, knee surgery. If suppose you collect all the data and show I'm as good as any best hospital in the country, any corporate, anybody else, show the data. So you come together and create that. I think it will be a great approach for tier 2, tier 3 cities whereby cost will be less, right thing will be done. We are not chasing money, money may be chasing us. We are not chasing money, and quality outcome will be so good. I think people will feel comfortable going to these niche hospitals, getting the right treatment, and we publish the outcomes. So this is what I am trying to do through this fund, apart from helping some early starters also in terms of this eye company which produces made in India. Very proud of him. They can compete internationally, vaccine. So for me, looking at this kind of exceptional entrepreneurs, how do we really help them to develop on a healthcare only, in a thematic, not to dilute ourselves. Even in my oncology, people tell me, why have you not put multi-speciality? Because a lot of them have gone into, started as an orthopedic, cardiac, and gone into multi-speciality. That could be money chasing. But here, I know oncology, like you go to a restaurant, if there is a dosa maker or a pizza maker, they're good. But if they make everything multi-cuisine, they may be average or above average. We are only like pizza maker. We believe in it, we are only into oncology.
I know a very good pizza place, by the way, right here around our office, so we can do that after the show.
I hope
is
they
over.
don't make dosas.
No, they don't. Let me tell you that. Maybe they make a dosa pizza. But just a small follow-up here. So through your fund, right, when you invest, and there are a lot of budding entrepreneurs who might be listening to this right now and wanting to know, through your fund, when you invest into these companies, do you look for an entrepreneur who thinks like you and is more of a social entrepreneur than a commercial entrepreneur, even if not totally? Or when the fund is investing, you are looking at it from a lens of commercial interest?
We look at it from the length of eventual commercial interest, but the interest will be to bring all these stakeholders together. So we call it, Curus is the company for hospitals. In that, we take majority stake. We help them in operations. The doctor, let us say a doctor is an orthopedic doctor. He continues to perform. He is also a stakeholder in the system. See, he is not just paid salary for his work, but he is also a stakeholder. So it has a double effect. And for that, for him, he looks at, of course, security, everything else, but he will also build wealth if he does good. What is wrong in that? As long as we maintain that quality and good outcome. So that is what we are striving for. Even if I fail in this endeavor, I'm quite happy. Because for me, I celebrate failure also. And what really talking about Nuvama, it is a great way they looked into this. They were one of the first ones to say, I like this idea. Sandeep from Sudama, he looked at it and said, he came and met me once along with Rishikesh, and they said, we love this idea. Can we be partner with you? So cool. And they have really gone out of the way, and that has really created a bonding. More than anything else, it becomes friendship at some point. Yes. It is trust. Once you trust each other, there is no going out of it. For me, trust is an important factor. Whether it is patients, friends, anybody, trust. Let us not break the trust. It's a handshake is enough. Today, in this era of private equities and, lawyers, to me, I built Nasik, Ahmedabad, everything. Believe me, Neeraj, in just half an hour handshake, the whole deal was done. Today, even after half a year, it doesn't happen. That is a time we have to live with. But I want to go back to those days. And that is why this Inviga is, it is a trial experiment. I hope we succeed. I want to one day take it even public if possible. And that is my goal, and not have any PEs. Take it public straight.
Despite the fact that PEs have been instrumental in the growth, but this is the goal that you have right now. Very interesting. By the way, the team Nuama, when they told me about this term, doctorpreneur for you as well, they were very vocal about the practices that you are following. So I'm glad we're getting to do this conversation. I'll take 10-15 minutes more of your time. A few days back, we had an interesting conversation with Dr. Devi Shetty. When they published a story around how they are now not having labs in hospitals because they are effectively transporting all the samples via drones. The reason I invoked that was, I would love to understand from you, as you see healthcare right now, what is it, or what role will technology play in transforming healthcare, both from a healthcare perspective as well as a commercial perspective, return ratios, acceptance, quicker delivery, what have you?
See, some of these ideas, what you just told me, are related to efficiency in the system. Right. Like the drones centralized lab. So obviously, volume means your efficiency, your reagents you buy, number of people you work, everything becomes more efficient. Productivity increases. That is a good idea. That is absolutely good to bring efficiency. But on the other hand, technology in India, to me, plays an important role in new innovations. See, when we look at technology for HIS system, EMR system and all, we should not, I'm a little bit contrarian in this, we should not just mimic the West. Okay. We should do our own internal evaluation to see what is the right thing for our nation. For example, in our country, we have large unemployment. By some standards, 30-40% youths are unemployed, rural India. So for me, skill training is important. How do we train the rural people? They are equally talented, but they don't have the opportunity. Somebody born to a wealthy kid, obviously average kid can become super average or much better because of the type of schooling they go. Whereas a rural kid, same IQ, same standard, cannot. Not that easy. Only brilliant kids come out. So we need to bring parity. So I would say, particularly even in healthcare others, technology should be used to really improve our standards in the rural areas, youths, and women. I am a big women empowerment. I have 10,000 women I'm training now in Mysore and Ooty, mainly to show this can be done. So to me, that is important. And even healthcare. Now I have established an AI company. Through that, in a rural area, I'm establishing a technology company to see how this information can be used, learning from them, how AI can develop it so that we can leapfrog rather than going through the same process. So employment opportunities, everything should be there. So technology should be a complement to adding more people to work, give them more interesting work, more sophisticated work. We cannot say anymore only urban kids, urban people are eligible for this. We have to bring parity. Equality in India is not there. Inequality is very big, as you know, one of the two countries in the world. So how do we bridge? That is where I think we have to use. In healthcare, of course, technology makes a huge difference. I am myself involved in genomics, proteomics. All of this is tech-oriented. How do you create algorithms based on 10 patients, 100 patients? So a patient coming to me with the same disease, same stage, one responds and other doesn't respond. Why should I give the same treatment to that patient who's not responding? Can I create bucketing? algorithm. So the technology will tell me, look, this patient like this has been treated differently. Don't give them this treatment, do it. So that is what we are working on. It is going to be a game changer once we go into the system. But to get a final answer is still ways off. But we will start improving. Cancer, for example, has become chronic disease because people are living, lung cancer, people are living 7-8 years. So it is even metastatic disease, even with brain tumor. So it is under transform. So technology plays an important role. AI in healthcare plays an important role. But we have to be cautious about where are we going to use it. In my view, human human development is very important. I think that is where we lack. That is where to the tier 2, tier 3 rural India, we should bring this kind of technology, create training programs.
Can the private sector do that, or will the government have to do it? The private sector will have to do that.
Like oncology, government sector can do.
Can't do. Okay, fine.
Like this also has to be private.
Okay.
And in private, they will
And is there capital enough to do that?
Capital enough to do.
There is capital to do that.
Absolutely.
Okay, perfect. Great. Now tell me, sir, how do you see
In fact, I can say I am a proponent. Government is the best which counts the least. So government should encourage private enterprise to penetrate this market and just monitor.
Are the rules conducive right now? Is the policies conducive for the private sector?
No, it is not conducive.
It's not conducive.
Now,
what should the government do?
Government should stay away from saying, I will be the manufacturer also. I will perform this. I will also monitor you. Government should just incentivize people.
But what if the wrong suits come in and take advantage of the government leniency?
Because they are monitoring. Government should become a monitoring agency. Hey, here is a person. Are they getting the same training? Are they getting the same outcome as people who are well-to-do? Schooling, other areas, then okay, I'll spend.
And technology can help this monitoring.
Technology can help to monitor. It
Perfect.
can become a fabulous way of doing it.
Okay. How do you see the growth of the healthcare sector in India going ahead? A lot of people say that this is a recession-proof, inflation-proof sector, which will probably grow at a particular percentage, compounded for the next 10, 15, 20 years. What's your sense, sir?
It will definitely grow. I think the common sense approach is people are moving up the economic ladder.
Right.
When they move up the economic ladder, what do they look for? Good education for their children, good health care for themselves, their family. If you don't have that, then it's not for them. So they are moving up the economic ladder. Their per capita income is improving. Lot of technology is coming, know-how. So with that and Google, majority of the patients who come to me, even assuming they are from tier 2, tier 3 city, they would have done their homework. Who is Ajaikumar? What is this? What is cancer? So they are well versed. And so this is going to make a change. Even in cancer field, unfortunately, it is a disease which is increasing.
Yeah.
And now we say 1 in 9 in India are getting cancer. And soon it could be 1 in 6, 7. So this is something which of course make us the growth, but way to prevent it is really to make sure that cancer doesn't recur.
I'm going to come to that, sir. But just so to get the numbers out of the way, because the last 5 minutes of the show I'm going to dedicate to healthcare. A lot of people will benefit from it. But you believe 15-20% growth CAGR for the next 10-15 years?
Absolutely. It can be even more than that.
Longer than that also.
Yes. As long as you penetrate tier 2, tier 3 markets, do the right thing so that it can even grow 20-25%.
That's what I was thinking.
Yes.
Part 2 of that question is, a lot of government policies are also encouraging foreigners to come in and take advantage of the Indian healthcare system and the cost. Do you think that plus the India's burgeoning population means 25% might happen?
We don't need any foreigners.
We don't.
We are going to serve there. So why do we need them to come here?
For medical tourism. Medical tourism.
Yeah, for medical tourism, I call it medical destination. Because people who come to India have initially gone through some treatments.
Right.
They find then recurrence happens, something goes wrong, they come here. Definitely there is a place for it, there is no question. And that can help to bridge the gap, cross-subsidy.
So 20-25% is possible?
Is possible.
And would you believe hospital chains, organized chains are the best placed? This is a purely commercial question, but hospital chains would be the best place, or could the entire ecosystem, which is diagnostics, pharma companies, hospital chains, etc., all of them will probably grow at this pace? Or will hospitals take the cake?
Definitely grow in my view, primarily because there is now good competition for good quality. And whenever there is competition, a lot of people come in and we reset ourselves to focus on quality outcome. So growth will happen. Some will fail. See, when you rapidly grow, obviously some will fail. But I think we will learn from failures and reset ourselves so that we don't do the same mistakes. I think that is where India, you imagine 300 million equal to United States if we are serving private. Another 1 billion is there waiting. So imagine what the growth can be if everybody has to get equal healthcare. And someday it will happen. In the next 10, 15, 20 years, transformation will happen, particularly since the wealth creation is happening at the bottom. It will make a change.
Cross fingers. Hopefully, all the treatments that are done, even on an expensive basis, on the rich of India. I'm not saying they're guinea pigs, but the treatment that is being given, the learnings from them can help treat the bottom 1 billion at a low cost. Hopefully, that happens.
And our cost actually is coming down. For example, you look at the CT scan, MRI, all those costs with high technology.
But sir, bills to बढ़ ही रहे हैं. Bills to फिर भी बढ़ रहे हैं. Whenever you go, I mean, my experience has been that 10 years the same treatment.
Oh, that is because the type of institution you choose. Because there are some hospitals which say minimum RPOP per day is 1 lakh. Minimum. So it is a type of institution, type of doctors. Some doctors will say, I'll do cardiac surgery only if my fee is 50 lakhs or 25 lakhs. Some of the doctors today make 40, 50 lakhs a month. So that is a different tier system.
Agree completely. Okay, last few questions, sir, and that is purely for the benefit of a lot of people who are watching this right now and have a relative, a friend, or somebody in the past having gone through this. Are there some difficult question first. Do you reckon that a definitive, dependable cure for cancer is around the corner? A lot of talks about use of ivermectin, for example, recently. Newer things like CAR-T cell therapy, etc., are all coming forward. Tell us a bit about it.
See, there are certain cancers which are definitely long-term survivors are there. In breast cancer, for example, if you take early enough, 10-year survival could be 90%. Wow. Very good. And a lot of people, like the other day I met one ovarian cancer patient of mine. Somehow she had lost a follow-up at a function. She said, doctor, you treated me 12 years ago. I'm perfectly okay. So there are a number of people who are doing good, and they don't talk about it. They are there. But recurrences in India are still high. By some estimate, 40, 50%, 60%. Because of the type of therapy we do, where it is done in hands which are not trained, which are not capable. That is where even the government is making mistakes by saying, I'll establish clinics for oncology. All of this cannot be done, because if you want to make sure the cancer doesn't come back, you have to treat right first time.
Right.
That's the principle, yes. We, like somebody called me the other day and introducing me, said he is from the industry. I said, I'm not from the industry. I'm an oncology care provider, because we are into research, academics, treatment care, everything. You cannot have community practice anymore. So if you want to win the war on cancer, it has to be integrated, multidisciplinary, research, academics, what are the new drugs, what are the things happening. See, these are the important things to know. You cannot give routine treatments anymore. Then the recurrence will be high. So the cancer, the most important thing is, of course, early detection. Second, detect cancer even if it is coming back early enough, so we can harp on it and treat the right way. And the most important thing is right treatment first time. For example, if you do surgery, if you don't do proper surgery and leave it close to the margin, head and neck cancer, any cancer will come back. Come back almost definitely. So this is the problem. Recently, in fact, I lost a patient just a few days back. He came from Middle East. The surgery done was incomplete. 5 years she struggled because of one mistake of incomplete surgery. So this is an important part of cancer, because it is not cancer. We call it the emperor of malady and all. It need not be emperor if you know how to manage cancer. So that is the most important thing. I think we are there. Knowledge, technology, research, everything, and new drugs, immunotherapy, for example, made a huge difference. Okay. I have a day worker. Somehow I managed to give him immunotherapy for 6 years. Extensive disease, Neeraj, with nasopharynx with liver and all, doing fantastic. 6 years later, he's a day worker. So these are achievable, provided you don't bring money in the way, somehow manage it. Financial is another issue. If they can't afford, they go broke. Yes. So they compromise.
That's true.
We can't do that. Do right thing. And our doctors are super trained, majority of them. To get that kind of outcome is possible.
Okay. Easy hacks for people who have either a relative or themselves are suffering from cancer or have just gotten treated and just want to keep. Are there some basic hacks that everybody can follow?
A basic hack is, in terms
or
of...
basic practices that somebody should follow.
Basic practice, we always say, of course, good health habits. But today, there are a lot of articles written about what is the effect of pesticides, smoking. And, we wrote to I was before the parliamentary committee, please, can you ban smoking or restrict it? One of the members asked, does smoking really cause cancer? He asked me, parliament member. So what I want to say is, it is, and people told me it is such a high revenue earner. So because we have to attack these ills of the society in a big way. I think and early detection of cancer can be done through blood tests now. I think we are on the verge of it. Some have failed, but we may be on the verge of, through methylation, we call it process, liquid biopsy and all. So there are a number of things, particularly with families, mutation, like BRCA for breast cancer is very well known. Like that, we have number of mutation, P53 and others. Through that, I can do a blood test and today say whether you're likely to get cancer because of this mutation. Just a regular blood test. So we are on the verge of it. So prevention, avoiding some of these pollution. Like, for example, why is Delhi maybe high cancer rate? Because of the high pollution. All the hospitals are thriving with cancer patients in Delhi.
Thriving.
Thriving because of the pollution. There is no doubt pollution is a factor.
Got it.
It causes, because it's chronic inflammation.
No, but there is nothing that I, as a citizen of the country, can do about pollution.
Probably wearing masks, rebreathable masks, going in the public area. Right from a certain age, you have to do it from your 20s itself, not later. So, avoiding some of these things, I think organic food and healthy lifestyle and getting the blood tests to see whether you are likely to get cancer or you are at a high chance, high risk based on the family history.
So blood tests can do that.
Yeah, family history, everything. But there is again H. pylori infection for stomach, human papilloma virus for cervix. See, these are all viral related, avoiding it. For example, taking vaccinations, certain things may be helpful. So we have come a long way in understanding this. Now the question will be, particularly for a country like India, implementing it is the challenge. Right people in right place. The important thing is right people. Wrong people will not be able to do that. And system should recognize who are the right people.
Just before we do the last part, Dr. Kumar, which is around cancer, I just want to get a sense from you about leadership traits. And you've been a truly exceptional leader, but what does leadership mean to you?
See, for me, leadership, in a simple term, is a seeker. See, in the sense, we are always seeking answers to a lot of things. We are looking at it. We are not followers. In my whole career, whether it's fortunate or unfortunate, I don't know. I've never worked for anyone. So for me, looks at it as leadership as somebody who has to take tough decisions. And you seek advice. You learn from others' mistakes. You read philosophers, great thinkers, what it means. Like the usual thing is the answer all lies within you. And your conscience is the keeper. For me, that is important. For me, doing the right thing is important, and make sure those who are with you, those who work with you, I believe in a egalitarian system. If you come to my office, I don't have a head chair sitting. So people know he is the chairman. I don't do that. It is a round table, they can sit anywhere. I sit whatever empty seat. So this is a hallmark of a leader, I believe, where you inspire things in others to say, wow, let me kind of see why are the things. And also encourage them to question you. See, the important thing for me throughout my being a CEO and then an executive chairman and all, entrepreneur is always I believed questioning, and I always believed in one thing. What am I weak in? Suppose, let us say, I have good qualities in oncology. Am I good in certain fields, economics? Can I bring somebody who is even better than me? Who is surround ourselves in people who are brighter than us? I think that's an important factor for a leader. What lacks today is if a leader itself is insecure, if I bring somebody, I may lose my. I think then he is not a true leader. So for me, these are important things, and not always sticking to the power, holding on. Even though I know I shouldn't hold on. Other thing, I think these are the things which kind of makes you fail to lead. And I think that is how a lot of kingdoms have gone under, not picking the right succession plan. That is so. I think it's important to understand, it need not be your own relatives. It need not be your own things. Whoever is the right person should be the person to succeed. How do you groom them? And how do you show your caliber as a leader in a very agnostic way? This is what happens. I think that is why I call them seeker. That's why I'm not a follower of any gurus or anybody like that. I don't. Even, I'm not an atheist, but an agnostic. If God is there, great. If God is not there, great. Let me do what is the right thing. My conscience is my God. In that case, why should I worry? This is what I teach our people also. See, it is important to understand what is right. And when you go to take a certain decision, you think, is it right? If it is not right, take a step back. And do I still have to do it? If you still have to do it, you live with it rest of your life. But you have to make sure you're going to live with it. That, recently I went to I don't go to tobacco related institution, ITCs. So once one of my close friends had an organization, they invited me for a PE, for a drink and get together. I said, how can I refuse? I can't. What do? I say, I won't take anything. I went to him, I said, look here, I don't know why you held it in ITC, he said, why not? Do you know they are into tobacco? And me being oncology, I can't propagate that. I never thought about it, he said. So I want to bring this thinking to the people. Also, it's important as a leader. Hey, put on your thinking hats and think a little bit out of box. And there is a great book, I won't go into details, I'm just finishing reading, Why the Poor Won't Revolt. It's a good book to read. And how poor in India are glorified. You go to a movie, what do you see? Oh, poor man, struggling. People enjoy seeing that. But you want to make them prosperous, but we don't think on that. For example, you in your house, this is maybe a crude example. You have a pet, a dog or a cat. It sits on your sofa. You feel, wow, cute. But if your worker who's working sits on the sofa, hey, why are you sitting on the sofa there?
That's true. That's true, sir. So true. Very well put. Very well put. Despite these practices, though, sir, you would have had some failures as well. Yeah. What have those failures taught you?
See, the failures has been for me in terms of, in 2000 I wrote in my book, Excellence is Noble, I kind of literally lost $20 million in the bust of 2000. So I thought, I'm done. I was in Boston, I bought a big house and everything settled and coming to India to do all this, keeping my house. Then I actually walked on the ocean thinking I should never come back. But I came back, I really took it. That is when I told my wife, doesn't matter, I'm going to sell all this what I have and rebuild. So for me, that was one of the areas where I thought, how am I going to take care of, I had small hospitals, my people, family, but I overcame that very successfully. Working very hard, thinking about it and all. So it made me very confident. So failures are very important. And when I was telling my brother, I lost this, I'm learning from it. Oh, people test talk, why did you lose? What do you learn from this? Very close brother. But I said, look, I'm going to learn from this. So for me, even COVID time, when I had to compromise and bring in CVC, I learned, don't overextend yourself. Debt maybe too high. People look at it like what you want to do. Sometimes in the arena, you also have to think what is it I can survive, I can sustainable model. So I had to create now that is why in Viga I'm trying to create. These are all learnings. So failure in India is not celebrated. For me, I want to celebrate failure. When an entrepreneur, a startup fails, I want to know why he failed. Suppose he says, I spent $1 million, I failed. I want to say, can I give you $1 more million for this idea? Let us work together. I think that is the learning curve from failures I've had. It has been a remarkable journey for me.
Interesting, very interesting. If you had to, okay, in which case, I'm guessing from the 2000 bust onto when you sold a large portion of your company to a private equity, and therefore that's a story of success, right? Yeah. If there are maybe one or two or a few habits, let's say one or two key habits that transformed you from, let's say, just a hardworking doctorpreneur, oncopreneur, whatever you call yourself, right? What is closest to you, to a thoughtful leader, what would those habits be?
I think the thoughtful leader is taking a step back. And as an entrepreneur, your passion, so much, you want to like conquer entire India in oncology. You want to be the number one. But you have to take a step back and see, are you better off having few high-end centers, which are centers of excellence? For example, my Bangalore center is center of excellence. Where I have failed is, can Cuttack, Ranchi be like center of excellence? I have not succeeded. That is my because it is not, you need a champion at each area. Like I champion, my team is there, very good, 400 oncology in Bangalore. Can I have a champion in Cuttack? It becomes very difficult. Who is trained, who can lead, who can do everything else. So that is where, to some extent, I've learned that it may not be possible. That is where I'm trying to use technology, tumor boards and monitoring. Now we are on the verge of auditing. Any recurrence, any deaths, we audit. So we integrate that into the system.
Okay, but the habit was that if you earlier wanted to conquer everything, you learn to take a step back and realize that some things are not possible.
Not possible, but using the present day technology, can I restart the whole process? Okay. Is it possible to do? So that is where we are in that journey. Okay. So for me, it's an amazing journey.
Any other habit that transformed you as a leader? Something that you did earlier and then changed?
Other habit is time to think. See, what we lacked as running around 24/7, like I always say, like a chicken without egg, you do next step, what is that you do? Now I want to sit, reflect and see what is the right thing to do, taking time. I think that has helped me a lot. And my son, I don't know whether you know, my son recently passed away. He had a genetic disorder, lived 35, he was a philosopher. Through him I learned a lot about this. He was a psychologist, master's. And he lived more than what he was supposed to live. He added a lot to me. So through that I learned about think, don't rush, give it a step back. And like Bertrand Russell wrote a book called Pursuit of Happiness, philosopher. There he talks about being idle. In my view, there's nothing like being idle. If you are sitting quiet and just observing and thinking, it's a great way to spend time. Today that we scroll, we do things, every minute we want to be busy. But I think this is what I learned now. Spend some time. And I think that makes you make right decisions. That is where I faltered, and just, take a quick decision. This is what I should do it. But you have to give it some thought. That has helped me quite a bit in the recent years, going into my research and even managing my patients. It has helped me a lot.
I'm so sorry for that event. I didn't know about it.
We have to accept it.
We have to accept it, I'm sure. If you can maybe just give me one more question if I can, which is, if there is an unrealized goal that you have, which you believe might be out of reach, if you will, but you're still pursuing.
See, the unrealized goal is, I am a polymath. I do what I learn in one place, I bring to other place. So what I learned in healthcare and my rural program, one of the things I learned is, it's economy stupid, like what Bill Clinton said. Without economic improvement, whatever we do in healthcare, education, maybe a drop in the ocean. So my goal now is to taken this one taluk, where I worked hard for years in microcredit and all. How do we bring prosperity? Right now, their average income from 7,000, 8,000, 10,000 has increased to 25,000 a month. We documented it. Now I want to see whether, like in 1975, I saw a cleaning lady in Chicago in the apartment me and my brother had, coming in a car. Why can't all the rural women become affluent. How do we bring about it? So I want to create a model taluk and see whether we could create that kind of a wealth through employment, through skill, technology, everything. I may not succeed, but I'm going to try it to the hilt. And there, I think the healthcare will improve, education will improve, everything. So right now, it's called Antardhvani movement, inner voice. And in this, I have 10,000 women now, and I want to expand it to over close to 50,000, and politically also get involved locally. They will get involved and see how we can make a differential. It is a trial. It is purely a trial. Like Abhijit Banerjee did a trial to show when you capitalize poor people, they actually work hard to become wealthy. You give them money. So that is the model I am also creating. How do you capitalize? Suppose you take to a poor family and give them 10 lakhs each, just no questions, and monitor to others. According to Abhijit Banerjee's experiment, they all become wealthy. So it is, you're not born with wealth, but we give them. So we bring equality in the system. This is my final experiment.
We wish you all the success for this for sure. And I hope it becomes a pilot project for many more people to get inspired from.
Yeah, I hope one day I can come and talk here on that.
Make sure, I'm giving you an open seat, sir. Whenever you do this, even during the journey, it'll be lovely to talk about this.
Please, it'll be great. Because this is a fascinating journey for me to see the human mind. Because people always think if you give money, they will spend. It's not so. I don't think they will. And they, particularly women, are just amazing what the type of women we have. We have trained them, bold. They can speak to 100,000 people now. They can, boldly. So that is what I'm training. I'm spending about 2 days a week on that.
Well, I don't know. I mean, this is, I thought of doing this conversation as a business conversation alone, but your answers compelled me to move it from being a pure business conversation to just the kind of learning that you've given us, Doctor. I don't know if I can call you an oncopreneur, maybe, because you like to be called an oncologist, but you're a very successful entrepreneur as well. But it has been one of the most amazing conversations that I've had in recent times. So I thank you for doing this with me today. And I thank Team Nuvama for doing this whole exceptional piece, because it gives us a chance to talk to people like you. But thank you for being with us today.
I want to really, truly thank you and Nuvama. Honestly, they have been a great associate for me, and the way they are really structured, and of course invited me here, what kind of help they have done. I'm very thankful for the entire Nuvama team, and of course for you for having me here. Thanks.
No, I mean, it's NETV's pleasure that we are able to do these conversations and bring the story of truly exceptional leaders to a wide bunch of viewers. So thank you for being with us today, Doctor, and really appreciate your time.
Thanks. Thank you.
And viewers, thank you for tuning in to a very differentiated episode of The Exceptionals. It isn't truly just a business conversation, because the gentleman that we had is not just truly just a businessman, but a lot more. So thank you so much for tuning in today.